This is by Baseball Doesn't Exist, the highest player in baseball history. Oh boy.
In 1970, Doc Ellis says that he accidentally took a substance before a game. When he got to the mound,
he couldn't feel the ball, couldn't see the batters, thought the umpire was Richard Nixon, and threw one of the most legendary games of all time.
But did Ellis actually take something, or is he making this entire story up? According to Doc, it is true, and not even close to the craziest thing he's done in a Major League uniform.
He once went into the stands with a baseball bat to fight fans after a racist remark. He once accidentally set the clubhouse on fire.
And according to him, he never pitched a single Major League game without taking something beforehand.
Doc Ellis also spent...
Didn't we watch some other video about some guy who was like drunk every time he played or something? I guess some people have like this weird superpower of like, you know, something that should be destructive to you actually makes you better or something.
His off seasons in prisons, volunteering as a counselor, testified in Congress to raise money for sickle cell research, and spent decades working to rehabilitate recovering addicts.
Despite all his activism and charity work, Doc Ellis was still one of the most hated players of his era.
He received threats regularly, once got his car stolen and set on fire by fans of his own team, and was screamed at by angry fans every time he took the field. When Doc noticed a family screaming profanities at him from the stands, he would run over to them, ask their children what their phone number and address were, then invite himself over and have dinner with the same family who just cursed him out. He did this on 3 separate occasions. He once got in trouble just for wearing a hairstyle the league didn't like, was attacked by his own manager, and was held at gunpoint, all while wearing a Major League uniform. Doc Ellis was described as, quote, the most unpopular pirate of all time. Today, he's transcended into a baseball folk hero. But he should have never even been in MLB in the first place. In fact, the only reason he played high school baseball was because he was drunk.
When Doc got to high school, he refused to play on the school's team because at trial...
This is already like the last video we watched last time. This is another like story that feels like it needs an anime adaptation. It's too entertaining.
Tryouts, the players started taunting him for his skin color. As a senior, he got caught drinking in the bathroom, so his school forced him to play on the baseball team as punishment. He played 4 games and made All-City. Doc still managed to get several Major League offers coming out of high school, but turned them down because his father wanted him to get an education. He went to a local community college, pitched 1 game for the baseball team, and quit. His dad then tragically passed away from disease, and Doc began drinking heavily and getting into trouble. Him and his friends stole a car, got caught, and was arrested for grand theft auto. After all of this, one team was still willing to sign him, the Pittsburgh Pirates, who previously offered him $60,000.
I mean, he stole a car, he committed grand theft auto, and he joined the Pirates. I see your connection. I think it's perfect.
After the arrest, they only offered him $2,500. Doc immediately dropped out of school and accepted.
Doc became a pro at 19 and immediately tried to fight a fan with a baseball bat. According to his childhood friend, if you hung out with Doc, it was guaranteed that you were going to get kicked out wherever you went. Doc Ellis had no problem upsetting people, especially when he had a valid reason. His first stop in the minors was in Florida in 1964, where he was immediately a target just for his skin color. I
was gonna say it's the 60s, so I can assume that, you know, that was probably the major problem. So I guess if you're fighting over that, it's fine. Like, obviously.
To him, in his first minor league season alone, he fought 7 of his own teammates for racial name calling. In one game, after being tormented by fans the entire time, he struck out the last batter and walked off the field while flicking off the entire crowd. And according to Ellis, in his first minor league game ever, he heard a fan call him Stephen Fetchit, a popular black comedian at the time. Doc went into the stands with a bat, attending to hurt the guy, but was restrained before he got the chance. A few years later, he did the exact same thing after a fan called him something a lot worse. According to Ellis, he went into the stands with a bat, swung at him, and quote, missed his head by the skin of a hot dog. Being targeted based on race in small...
It's crazy to think that it was the same, for example, like in the 90s. If you guys know pro wrestling and, you know, Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, it was like a very extreme company in the 90s. And you guys probably, if you know that company, you know New Jack, which was, he was a black wrestler. And the company would often operate in like the South, so there was a lot of redneck and racist fan in the crowd. And because it's wrestling, that would be part of it. Like he would play up the racism by like, you know, like confronting the fan, talking shit to them and stuff like that. And that was in the 90s, right? It was kind of like an insane time. I mean, New Jack was an insane guy, and his story is fucked up but super interesting. If you like ever have any time, check out some, you know, history video on YouTube about New Jack. But yeah, again, that was like 20-30 years later after this, and yet I guess some things weren't so different, right? It's fucked up.
Minor league stadiums was status quo at this time. Doc Ellis was one of the only players who didn't tolerate this treatment, and he was hated for it. Doc was once sent down to AA because the Pirates didn't like how long his hair was. When he got to AA, he shaved his head, and the next day, they sent him back up to AAA. In the minor league playoffs that year, Doc hurt his leg and said he needed an extra few days to rest before he could start. His teammates were convinced he was faking it and signed a petition to get him kicked off the team. Doc wasn't allowed to pitch in the playoffs that year. The next year, Doc was...
That's insane. I mean, like in you know, US sport, you have a lot of like story of people like overcoming racism to get to the top or something. Like in boxing, that was a big thing, you know. But the difference there is that like your team in boxing is at least people who like you are not racist toward you. I can't imagine this. Like, you know, the guy is in his own team. Like they're supposed to work together, play together to win, and yet the people inside his own team hate him and like fully racist against him. I don't know how like he was able to just stay in the team and still like fight for his own team to win, you know, like that's insane. I feel like, you know, most people would have just left, and rightfully so.
Cut after spring training and sent to the minors for the third year in a row. He says he was so upset, he spent the whole drive down to the minor league complex, entering clip after clip out of the window into the hillsides. By this time, Doc was already using heavily before each and every game. Doc says he would take up to 17 pills during a single game, making him extremely wired and jittery. Doc also admitted they made him extremely aggressive, which may explain this insane altercation that ended with his own manager going to the hospital. As soon as Doc made the major leagues, he immediately caused problems. He wanted more money and refused to come to spring training before he played a single major league game. In his rookie year, he refused to talk to any sports writers, saying he wouldn't for his entire career. He refused to participate in autograph signing sessions organized by the Pirates and got into an insane brawl after the opposing manager charged at him in the box. The bench is cleared and ended with his manager having to go to the hospital from a heart issue caused by the excitement. But Doc's reputation as a pitcher didn't come until 1970, when he threw what is widely believed the most insane performance in history. In a single start, he walked 8 batters, hit another batter, threw an estimated 150 pitches, and somehow still completed a no-hitter. Doc would later explain why he was wild that night, and I'm trying to watch video from everybody. Make him an American folk hero and start a debate on whether he took a specific substance before pitching. But at the time, everyone just assumed he wasn't on anything, not knowing that according to him, only tried to pitch one game without taking anything beforehand and completely forgot how to throw a baseball. He panicked and took a handful of pills before taking the field. This made him a maniac on the field. But off the field, he worked from 9 to 5 at a prison in the off-season to help prisoners and did it for free. He did charity work and even spoke in front of Congress to raise money to end sickle cell. But this did not stop the media from calling him a, quote, pop-off, militant, grumpy, cocky, and even a racist after what he said and did in 1971. Doc was dominating that season, winning 15 games midway through July. People began wondering if he would start the All-Star game. However, Doc publicly stated that they would never choose him because he's black, and the man in charge of picking the starter, Sparky Anderson, hated him. This became the biggest story in baseball, started a national conversation about race, forced Sparky Anderson to come out and say he didn't hate Doc and had never even met him. Doc maintained that since Vida Blue was already announced as the AL starter, he had no chance because they would never, quote, start a brother from the American League and a brother from the National League. Later admitting he completely made up the fact that Sparky Anderson didn't like him and made these comments solely to...
Oh yeah, okay, I was literally thinking that, like, early in his career he said something like, I don't want to deal with the media, but then maybe he realized that actually, you know, he can deal with them, but fuck with them. Like, say things that, you know, will make them run with it to improve his own position and career. I guess that's probably what he thought.
Force him to start him or risk being considered a racist. And it worked perfectly. He started the game in part due to these comments, and for the first time in history, 2 black pitchers started the All-Star game. Unfortunately for Doc, he gave up a home run to Reggie Jackson, which at least according to the papers, went close to 600 feet. Doc was so pissed Reggie hit this home run, when they faced again 5 years later, Doc hit him in the face on purpose as payback. Jackson says he thought it was disrespectful that Doc didn't visit him in the hospital. Doc responded by saying he didn't visit him because he was embarrassed his pitch didn't hurt Jackson worse. According to Dave Parker, Doc Ellis...
I don't get this guy. Like, I don't get him. Like, on one side, they're saying that he's somewhat of a good guy, doing some good things, like volunteering at a prison to help people with drug addiction and stuff like that. But on the other side is like the opposite of someone doing something like this. Is it that he's just doing a persona in his baseball career? Like he's almost like trying to act like a pro wrestler, you know, to make himself popular and make people pay attention to him and stuff like that. Because otherwise, like, I don't see how, you know, the 2 personalities exhibited are like even the same person.
Was, quote, unquestionably the most intimidating pitcher of his era. Doc agreed, and when asked if his substance use contributed to making him more violent on the field, he said,
that's what's going to happen when you have drugs on the field. I threw to hit him. I mean, I threw to hurt him bad.
In 1974, Doc Ellis started a game against the Cincinnati Reds with 1 goal. Hit every single batter he faced. He hit the first 3 batters in a row, but the 4th hitter dodged 4 fastballs going right at him. Doc's goal was to hit every batter he faced until he was either taken out or ejected. He was taken out after 4 batters. According to Doc, this was his way of sending a message to his own team, something that he did a lot. During the 1971 playoffs, he became the most hated player on the Pirates when he publicly started a war with his own organization. Doc...
Like, what message? Like, I'm an asshole? Fire me and get someone who doesn't do that? I don't know. Like throwing dead ball and making the batter walk is, like, bad. You're making it worse for your own team. Like, what's the message?
Called the Pirates franchise out for being cheap, complaining to the media that his hotel beds during the playoffs were too small. He claimed the team overbooked the plane and it was too crowded, and said the team had to stop to refuel the plane because they wanted to save money. Doc said the Pirates, his own team, were so cheap that they, quote, don't deserve to win the pennant, don't deserve to win the World Series or anything. This became the biggest story of the World Series. Doc was again labeled a diva.
Drugs, I guess. I mean, I guess my questions are stupid. The answer to all my question is drugs.
booed by his own fans. However, multiple other teammates and even his own manager also complained anonymously. Turns out, the Pirates were extremely cheap and even charged their own players extra money if they wanted to bring their wives to the World Series. The next year, most likely due to the publicity Doc brought to the issue, the Pirates upgraded the team plane and hotel arrangements.
I mean, I get the points. Maybe he was right about all that. But again, like with his antics of giving up a base to the enemy team is like, you know, to make a statement is basically like making it worse for like all the other players who have trained hard and are here to win. So sure, he's trying to make a statement, but that doesn't seem like the way to go.
This season, the Pirates ended up winning the World Series, and at 26 years old, Doc was on top of the world. He had a World Series ring, a no-hitter, and an All-Star Game start. A few months later, he was pepper sprayed in the face just for trying to enter the stadium. He got stopped by security who demanded to see his player ID. Doc didn't have one and instead proved he was a player by showing the guard his World Series ring. The guard still refused to let him in. Doc started cursing him out, and the guard ended up pulling out his firearm, pointing it at him, then pepper sprayed him in the face, claiming that Doc was intoxicated and lunged at him with a wine bottle. Doc ended up getting charged with disorderly conduct, had to go to court, sued the Reds, and eventually settled out of court with no one facing any criminal charges. The Pirates had Doc's back, saying the security guard's accusations were false, and admitted the reason why Doc didn't have an ID is because the Pirates never issued him one. The next year, the Pirates did a 180 and didn't have his back at all after them and the league went to war with Doc because of his hair. In 1973, Doc made several interesting fashion statements. He began wearing a jacket to games that said Doc Ellis no. His manager banned it. Then he started wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers jacket during games, which was okay until he came into pinch run and the umpire made him take it off. Turns out, Doc was shirtless underneath the jacket and had to be taken out of the game. Later in the year, he was pictured wearing curls in the bullpen. This upset the league so much the commissioners sent him a letter saying he was forbidden from ever wearing them on the field, meaning that because of Doc Ellis,
why the fuck does it matter?
Are now banned in Major League Baseball. According to Doc, the real reason he wore them was so that his hair retained more sweat, allowing him to throw spitballs. According to Doc's agent, the Pirates actually tried to suspend him for wearing this in the bullpen, but Doc Ellis and his agent fought back. The Pirates were not a fan of his hairstyle, but they ended up suspending him and trading him away for something much more egregious. In 1975, after struggling, the Pirates tried to send him to the bullpen. He said he wouldn't go unless they paid him more money. The Pirates said he had to go and suspended him for one game for refusing. Doc then made a speech in the locker room in hopes to inspire the team. He began insulting the manager, who got up and tried to fight him. He also described one of his teammates as having, quote, cement hands, which caused another player to throw a punch at him. Doc
Is that bad, cement hands? Does it mean like he's bad at catching the ball?
Was suspended 30 games and then sent to the bullpen. The whole situation became public and he became public enemy #1 in Pittsburgh. His car was literally stolen and set on fire. That offseason, he was traded to the Yankees, where he returned to being an ace and won Comeback Player of the Year. Doc would end up bouncing around from team to team for the rest of his career and caused at least one hilarious controversy every step of the way. He was traded to Oakland and was once asked to keep pitch charts. He believed this job was below his pay grade, so he set the charts on fire in the clubhouse, accidentally making a fire and causing the sprinkler system to go off. He was then traded to the Rangers, where everything was fine until his manager decided to ban drinking in the hotel bar and prohibited players from having mixed drinks on the plane, causing Doc Ellis to basically start a coup. He resigned as the team's player rep because of this and described his manager as Hitler. Doc made a speech on the bus saying that he would
I see that's, you know, people often say that this is like a modern thing, like every time people are like mildly inconvenienced by someone, they will call them Hitler. But I guess it's the thing even back then, like 30, 40 years ago. Interesting.
Continued to drink on flights and in the hotel bar and encouraged all his teammates to join him, starting a massive feud with the manager. The Rangers ended up taking Doc's side and fired the manager before the end of the season. Doc would end up
obviously, I mean, outside of the game, you can't tell them not to drink. They're adults.
Pitching one more season. He retired and almost immediately checked into rehab. When he got out, he became a drug counselor, helping others with addiction for the rest of his life. But 5 years after retirement, he made a claim that changed his legacy forever. According to him, during an off day before the no-hitter, he went to LA to be with friends, took psychedelics, lost track of time, woke up, took more psychedelics, and was told by a friend he had a game in 6 hours. He got on a plane to LA and arrived to the stadium 90 minutes before he was supposed to pitch, and somehow ended up throwing a no-hitter while being extremely high. This story is widely accepted, but there are some skeptics. The day of the no-hitter, nobody seemed to think Doc was on anything. He did interviews after and seemed fine. Bob Smith.
But from what they said, like the guy was always high or drunk to an extent. So maybe that's his normal state.
A Pittsburgh writer, traveled with the team and said if Doc arrived 90 minutes before a game, he would have definitely known. His own teammate Al Oliver also says he's never known for sure if Doc was telling the truth, and other teammates have said they thought Doc was lying. In reality, we'll never know for sure, and walking 8 people does seem like he was on something. But even if there is a chance Doc is making this up, he will forever be known for doing one of the hardest things in baseball while being completely out of his mind.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to lie about anyway, right? Like, I don't know. Okay, well, very crazy guy. I don't know what to say, like, like, one step out of the way I'm a fan, next step out of the way I'm like, what the fuck? It's really all over the place, but at least entertaining, very entertaining. I can't deny that one bit. Insanely entertaining. Okay. I don't know what to say.